Hi, and welcome back to Corey Teacher's Nightly News Roundup. Today is Thursday, November 20th, 2025, and today we will do Korea-only news. We will cover it in intermediate English at intermediate speed. We'll have 8 segments of news covering all variety of trending topics, and after each section, we'll talk about some useful vocabulary. All right. Before we jump into the headlines, let's take a quick look at the weather today. November is one of the driest months in Korea, and temperatures in Seoul today range from daytime highs of around 11 degrees Celsius to nighttime lows near 1. It was 7 degrees when I came home earlier. In fact, I put my finger in my pocket and it ripped the skin open. It was so dry outside. All right, to make the experience more cozy, I'd like you to get something to drink, warm or cold. Today, I decided to have some juice, so I'll be having some cranberry juice. I like bitter flavors, so it's my favorite. All right, and I hope you have something nice as well, and let me know in the comments what you guys are drinking. And let's dive right in. Our first story takes us to Seoul's affluent Gangnam district, where real estate transactions drew attention for their dramatic price drops. Apartments in prestigious towers were registered as changing hands at tens of billions of won less than previous sales. One luxury apartment that had sold for 15 billion won a few years ago was recently registered for just 3 billion won. Industry observers explained that these eye-popping discounts weren't signs of a collapsing market, but strategic family gifts. By transferring ownership to relatives at a nominal price, wealthy owners can reduce future inheritance tax and capital gains tax. It's just a method of getting around paying the taxes that are due. The article cited official data showing a surge in such gift transactions, with more than 3,300 cases across the country last year. Legal experts caution that although the practice is lawful, it can distort market statistics and confuse ordinary buyers. Our second story profiles Kim Yeon-jung, a well-known cheerleader who recently announced her engagement to baseball player Ha Ju-suk. In an interview, she revealed that she initially ignored his text messages, believing an athlete and an entertainer wouldn't have much in common. They later reconnected over a shared love of sports and family. Her fiancé, who plays for the Hanwha Eagles, my hometown, Daejeon, proposed at a family gathering. Kim confessed she went silent for 2 days after the news broke because she wanted to protect her privacy. Despite this, the couple has been warmly received by fans. The story highlights how celebrity relationships are carefully managed and show how public figures balance their openness with personal boundaries, something that is often very difficult here in South Korea. Our third story involves proposed legislation prompted by unusual baby names. In South Korea, there is currently little restriction on what parents can name their children. Reports have surfaced of children being registered with vulgar names that include profanities. Representative Kim Woo-young introduced a bill that would empower officials to refuse registrations if a name contains obscene expressions. The lawmaker argued that children have the right to names that do not subject them to ridicule or social harm. Our 3 vocabulary for this section start with inheritance tax. Perhaps you can guess the meaning of this one, but in many governments, there is money that needs to be paid to the government when property or wealth or money is passed from one generation to another, including things not property and not money related, like cars or businesses, etc. Privacy, I'm sure you've heard this one a lot in recent years, is the ability to keep personal matters secret or protect oneself from unwanted public attention. Profanity is offensive or rude language that is considered impolite to use in public. In the case of some of these names, they're using both Korean and foreign offensive names. It's interesting seeing which countries have restrictions on naming conventions. All right, let's look at our next segment about crime, work realities, and judicial scrutiny. Our next segment begins with a disturbing incident broadcast live online. A male and female YouTuber were hosting a travel stream in Taiwan when they began arguing about whether they were dating. At one point, the male streamer bluntly told viewers they were just friends. The woman suddenly pulled out a knife and stabbed him in the stomach. Shocked viewers alerted emergency services, and he was rushed to the hospital with serious injuries. Police arrested her on charges of attempted murder. The case ignited debate over the pressures of producing ever more dramatic content for views and how quickly real-life consequences can follow online theatrics. Switching to a little bit more calm and down-to-earth story, actress and TV personality Han Ga-in recently tried her hand at being a food delivery worker. On her YouTube channel, she filmed herself delivering fried chicken, omelet rice, and sushi using her Mercedes-Benz. After 4 hours, she earned about 20,000 won, roughly $15. She admitted the job was harder than expected, especially climbing stairs in heels and navigating apartment complexes. When I read this before, I was a little surprised. She didn't even take off her heels to do the delivery. Han said she was humbled by the physical demands and gained new respect for delivery riders who often work in dangerous conditions for modest pay. Industry data show the average monthly income for delivery drivers in Korea is around 2 million won, with many relying on tips and incentives. That's interesting. When I read this before, personally, I've not ever tipped a delivery driver in Korea. And when they included tipping on the Coupang Eats app, I refused to use it, and it went away very quickly. I'm not sure how you feel about tips, but I think it is dangerous to start them because in America, they've got out of control. So anyway, it's very interesting to read they rely on tips. I'm very confused by that. I want to know more. Our final story in this segment follows an investigation by the high-level officials' crime investigation agency. The agency obtained a warrant to seize taxi app records belonging to Judge Ji Gi-yeon, who is embroiled in allegations that he was treated at a room salon by parties with interests in ongoing cases. Investigators attempted to search the judge's bank accounts, credit cards, and mobile phone, but the court declined to grant those requests. By analyzing his taxi records, prosecutors hoped to reconstruct his movements and verify whether he visited the entertainment venue. The case underscores the agency's expanding remit and raises questions about privacy versus accountability for high-ranking judges. Yeah, it's a very controversial story right now. Our words today, I'm sure you've learned this one, but I think it is still good. Live stream is a video content broadcast over the internet in real time. That's why it is live. It is currently going through the wire. To be humbled means to be made to realize one is not as important or skilled as previously thought. There was a television program in America when I was younger called Pros versus Joes, and the pros were pro sports players, and the Joes were normal guys who liked sports and believed they are better at sports than pro players. So the game show was they would be put in challenges against professional athletes, and each one of them effectively lost every single time. So in this word, humbled, those Joes were humbled by the pro sports players. The last word is warrant. It's a legal document issued by a judge allowing authorities to search property or seize evidence. Police need a warrant to search your home, to search your car, etc. Let's get a little sip break here. How are you guys doing today? Today wasn't as cold here in Seoul as it was yesterday, but still so dry. Our third segment is about safety lapses, road rage, and creative journalism. On November 9th, a passenger ferry carrying 267 people ran aground near Shinan County. The ferry had deviated from its route and hit rocks at low tide. Investigators learned that the first mate, who was supposed to change course, was using his mobile phone and missed the critical turn. After the accident, 37 people were hospitalized. Police arrested the first mate and helmsman, and investigators are examining whether the captain properly supervised the crew. The incident reignited concerns about lax adherence to safety protocols on Korean vessels and the need for stricter monitoring of crew behavior. I have this problem a lot when I'm taking the subway. People often are on the phone and they walk directly into me. I've had several situations where people veered or turned into me while walking towards me, and I cannot avoid them without stopping or jumping to the side. One woman was on her phone and moving quickly and ran into me, into my chest with her arm, and left a bruise. I don't know how I got bruised. Anyway, let's continue the news. From the sea to the street, another piece of video footage went viral when a car driver produced what looked like a gun during a dispute with a motorcyclist. The confrontation started when the motorcyclist gestured angrily at the car for changing lanes abruptly. A taxi passenger filming the encounter captured the driver lowering his window and waving a black object that resembled a firearm. The motorcyclist fled, and police later found the driver and confiscated the item, which turned out to be a toy. Although no one was hurt, the incident caused panic and highlighted how quickly road rage can spiral out of control. Also, let's just say, there have been several incidents in America where people have used toy guns to threaten people, and it has ended up costing them or other people their lives, because police must respond to it as if it is a real weapon. This kind of thing can, in principle, no one got hurt, but in the long run, it can cause a lot of problems. Our final story in this segment is more lighthearted, but reveals the creativity of modern newsrooms. The Journalists Association of Korea recently honored a feature title, Where Are You, Mr. Kim?, about Kim producers in Gyeonggi Province. Reporter Yeon Hye-kyung and editor Yeon Ju-hun brainstormed the punning headline, playing on the similarity between Kim and the common surname Kim. The digital package combined immersive photography and narrative to showcase the region's unique product and won an editing award for its inventive presentation. Our vocabulary will be three things. First, lax, L-A-X, not Los Angeles, but instead this is a word used for not strict or careful. So if your classroom is a lax classroom, it means the students can do what they want. In this case, the first mate was being a bit lax at his work, so he did not pay attention. Number two, road rage. This is aggressive or violent behavior by a driver due to anger on the road. I've sometimes gotten yelled at by scooter drivers or taxi drivers for taking too long while walking across the pedestrian area. Just a few times. Normally everyone's quite kind, but yeah, while the light is still green, they told me to hurry up and get out of the way. It's very strange. Next, immersive, creating a feeling of being surrounded by and involved in something, often through visuals and narrative. Immersion is also a word related to this word. Immersive language learning is being immersed or dipped entirely into that language in order to learn it. In our next segment, we're going to talk about innovation, accolades, and artistic perseverance. The business world is abuzz with talk of a new investment tool from the Hankyung Media Group. Dubbed Epic AI, the platform is a subscription-based service costing about 50,000 won per month. Steep price. It mines a large database of research reports and corporate disclosures to answer investors' questions in plain language, providing charts and summaries on demand. The developers say their product differs from generic chatbots because it links to verifiable financial documents. Early adopters hope that Epic AI will help retail investors make more informed decisions by offering insights previously reserved for analysts. In other industry news, the 422nd Monthly Journalism Awards ceremony recognized reporters who shed light on social issues. Awards for life respect reporting and child abuse prevention were highlighted, with speakers urging journalists to continue advocating for victims of overwork deaths and neglected children. The president of the Journalists Association reminded attendees that compassionate reporting can make society warmer and more humane. The ceremony emphasized that journalism is not just about breaking news, but also about fostering empathy. I agree. Our third story in this segment profiles Kim Sang-min, a veteran art reporter who became an unexpected internet sensation. A simple illustration he drew of a car, which many mistook for amateur doodling, went viral. Kim has been drawing for newspapers for 27 years, transitioning from pen and ink to digital tablets. In interviews, he said he deliberately keeps his style simple to convey the essence of a subject quickly. Despite advances in artificial intelligence, Kim continues his thought drawing column, believing that human creativity cannot be fully replaced by algorithms. His story reminds us that authenticity is more important than polished perfection, honestly. Now on to our vocabulary for this section. Subscription, a service for which regular payment is made to receive ongoing access or products. For example, our Netflix subscription or Disney Plus subscription. Number two, advocate, to publicly support or recommend a cause or policy. Here's an interesting point. To advocate is the verb, so I advocate for protecting children. Because I advocate for it, I become an advocate. Advocate is spelled the same way, but it is a person who advocates. An advocate advocates. Got it? All right. Number 3, authenticity. The quality of being genuine or true to one's own personality rather than imitating others. Maybe I'll sound a bit like an ajashi, but in America, there's a new word we use, or the younger people use, to be based. It means similar to being authentic, being authentically yourself. All right, let's move on to segment 5, international friction, currency confusion, and symbolic meals. Diplomatic tensions have been surprisingly large ripple effects recently. Several Chinese state-owned enterprises recently instructed employees to cancel personal trips to Japan. The directive followed a travel advisory issued after China reinstated a ban on Japanese seafood, ostensibly due to concerns over treated water from Fukushima nuclear plant. Workers had booked flights and hotel packages for upcoming holidays, only to be told they would not receive full refunds. Some employees lost thousands of yuan on non-refundable expenses. Travel agencies halted Japan tours, and small Japanese businesses that rely on Chinese tourists expressed frustration. The episode illustrates how these geopolitical situations ripple down and trickle down to normal people. It can be quite hard. In separate cross-border story, merchants in Japan have reported a resurgence of customers using South Korean 500 won coins instead of 500 yen coins. The coins are similar in size and weight, but one is worth roughly 4,700 won, and the other is only worth 500 won, a tenfold increase. A Tokyo udon shop owner said he has unknowingly accepted the cheaper coin about 15 times over the past decade. Not much money lost, if you think about it in the long run. The problem is especially acute during busy hours when staff do not have time to scrutinize each coin. Authorities say some incidents may be accidental, particularly when foreign tourists visit multiple countries and mix coins. However, there have been cases of deliberate fraud. In the late 1990s, criminals shaved 500 won coins to match Japanese vending machine sensors. The renewed wave of coin swapping really underscores the necessary vigilance a lot of these stores and businesses have to have in order to prevent accidental or intentional fraud. Our third story highlights an act of culinary diplomacy. Taiwan's president, Lai Ching-te, posted a photo on social media showing him eat sushi and miso soup, accompanied by hashtags praising Kagoshima yellowtail and Hokkaido scallops. The post came after Beijing reimposed a ban on Japanese seafood imports, citing concerns over treated wastewater from Fukushima. Observers interpreted Lai's post as a subtle show of solidarity with Japan amid China's restrictions. I will say that compared to many political statements, this is more subtle. However, it's far from genuinely subtle. I'm sure you also agree. Chinese state media criticized him for allegedly goading Beijing, while Taiwanese netizens applauded the gesture. Some vocabulary words from this section. We have directive. This is an official instruction or order. It can also be a series of orders or a kind of way of thinking, especially with AI or robots. My prime directive is to do X, Y, and Z. I must do these things. It's kind of a principle. Vigilance is the action of keeping careful watch for possible danger or difficulties, The noun version is to be vigilant. This is adjective. The noun is to be a vigilante, like Batman or Spider-Man. These are vigilantes. In the real world, vigilante justice is quite dangerous. Solidarity is a unity or agreement of feeling or action among individuals with a common interest. This is similar to unity, as said in the definition. We stand in solidarity with Ukraine, for example, or we stand in solidarity with Gaza. These statements mean that we agree on some action among individuals with a common interest or with some larger group. Make sense? Segment 6, money, misconduct, and filial piety. Let's take another sip break. How about it? Today is quite late. I had a lot of extra work, so I'm sorry if I'm a little off. But let's still enjoy it anyway, all right? Data released by Korea's tax agency reveal that the very top echelon is a level of some greater entity. So the top echelon of schools in South Korea are like Seoul National University, Yonsei University, etc. The top echelon of YouTubers are earning staggering sums. According to materials submitted to the National Assembly, the top 0.1% of content creators, it's about 24 people total, earned an average of 4.93 billion won, about 3.8 million US dollars each in 2023. That figure is roughly 2.5 times higher than in 2020, reflecting the explosive growth of online media. Even the top 1% saw their average income rise from 850 million to 1.33 billion won. Lawmaker Cha Gyugun called for rules that would require creators to report donation accounts and pay taxes on money received from viewers. The streaming careers are becoming quite popular, and many young people, their dream job, as they tell me, is to become a YouTuber or to become a streamer. Meanwhile, actor and singer Lee Seung-gi made headlines for giving his parents a luxurious townhouse worth roughly 2.6 billion won. YouTubers can buy that in a couple of years. He had bought the property for about 1.34 billion won in 2016 and transferred it to them this summer. Located in a gated community favored by business executives, the residence sits on 416 square meters of land and includes a basement and one above ground floor, also known as a second floor. Lee's gesture was seen as an act of filial piety, especially after he publicly severed ties with his wife's family following his father-in-law's stock manipulation scandal. I'm sure you guys heard about that. The story sparked admiration among fans and reopened conversations about the role of children in family. As I mentioned before, echelon is a level or rank in an organization or society, or inside of a group of organizations or societies. Hospitality is friendly and generous reception and actions, especially when entertaining guests. Filial piety is respect and devotion towards one's parents or elders. I feel like Korean hospitality really suits me. It's similar to my hometown. All right, now in the section of healthcare mishaps, coin confusion, and data breaches. In a troubling medical case, a Korean traditional medicine practitioner was convicted of injuring a patient by inserting a 10-centimeter acupuncture needle too deeply. The patient had visited the clinic complaining of neck pain after a traffic accident. During treatment, the doctor inserted a long needle 4 times, puncturing the spinal membrane and causing an epidural hematoma that required 24 weeks of treatment. Ooh. The Daejeon District Court sentenced the practitioner to 6 months in prison, but suspended the sentence because it was a first offense and a settlement was possible. The judge noted that the injury was serious but occurred during a medical procedure, showing the fine line between therapeutic risk and negligence. That sounds terrible. Finally, e-commerce giant Coupang disclosed that personal information for roughly 4,500 customers had been exposed. In notices to affected users, the company said that names, email addresses, address books, and details of the most recent 5 orders were accessed without authorization. Coupang said it blocked the intrusion quickly, reported the incident to regulators, and found no evidence that payment details were compromised. Customers were warned to be cautious of phishing scams disguised as follow-up calls or texts from the company. Our words are just 2. One of them is negligence, this failure to take proper care resulting in damage or injury. In this case, negligence by the practitioner of using the needle too deeply caused the epidural hematoma. Phishing, with a PH, is specifically a practice of sending fraudulent messages, often by email or text, to trick people into revealing personal information. Let's move on to segment 8, courtroom drama, daring escapes, and calls for accountability. We close today's program with political and legal developments. Hong Chang-won, a former deputy director of the National Intelligence Service, returned to the witness stand in the trial of former President Yoon Suk-yeol, who is facing charges related to an alleged attempt to impose martial law last year. Hong testified that during a phone call on the night of December 3rd, President Yoon ordered him to arrest them all, with quotations, and later received a list of 16 political figures to detain. Under cross-examination, the defense questioned the reliability of his memory because he had been drinking that evening, even asking him to recall the color of the paper on which he wrote his notes. I want to stop here for just a second to say that I'm not siding with anyone on any of these topics. I'm just finding the news on Korean sites and reporting what is said, okay? Hong fired back, asking rhetorically whether opposition leaders like Lee Jae-myung and Han Dong-hoon were spies, stressing that such sweeping arrests would have been unconstitutional. In Busan, a 40-year-old Indonesian man was sentenced to 6 months in prison for swimming ashore from a foreign cargo vessel. Prosecutors said he jumped overboard near Namhang Bridge and swam for 2.5 hours before reaching land. The man had previously overstayed his visa in Korea and had been deported in 2016. The judge called the act a serious breach of immigration law and noted that the man likely had accomplices waiting to assist him. Unfortunate. Our final story features veteran politician Park Ji-won, who publicly called for the impeachment of Yoo Byung-ho, a member of the Board of Audit and Inspection. Writing on social media, Park accused Yoo of turning the board into a political weapon for the current administration and described him as the root of all evil, quote, end quote. He cited reports that Yoo played the song "The World is a Circus" at a farewell ceremony for the former chairman and sent a piece of yacht, the sticky candy, to the incoming Secretary General as a slight. Park argued that Yu's actions violated the impartiality required of constitutional watchdogs and urged lawmakers to remove him under Article 65 of the Constitution, which allows the National Assembly to impeach audit commissioners. Our vocabulary for this is martial law, which I'm sure we've heard this word a lot, temporary rule by the military, often during emergencies in which civil liberties may be suspended. Deportation, the act of expelling a foreigner from a country, usually for legal reasons. And impartiality, so it's a little bit more difficult word, treating all sides equally and fairly without bias. That brings us to the end of our nightly news roundup. Today was uniquely only news from South Korea. We've explored stories ranging from real estate strategies and celebrity news to courtroom clashes and international disputes. Along the way, we learned about the pressures faced by content creators, the importance of journalistic innovation, not to mention the money of many content creators, and the need for vigilance in both healthcare and data security. I hope that the vocabulary was useful today, and I hope that you feel relaxed and a little bit smarter, having approached the Korean news in easy to understand intermediate English. So this is all from Corey Teacher tonight. Hope you get to stay warm and stay hydrated in this dry, late fall weather. Have a great night, and I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day. Bye.